ain't the king of the temples too. Don't let them rise and make a fool of you. Let your soul feel whole and refuse to let them in. Let your light shine bright and learn to see again.
This is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings and all things Chicago Blackhawks. This is the Stick Blade Podcast with your hosts, Jordan Linscott, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. It is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings as well as Chicago Blackhawks and news around the NHL. I'm your host for tonight, Jordan Linscott, for my co-hosts, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. Everybody, welcome to the show. The NHL season is over for the Detroit Red Wings and Chicago Blackhawks, unfortunately. We're kind of going to take tonight to wrap the season as a whole for both clubs and talk about a little bit what's going on weirdly enough in the AHL because, spoiler alert, the Grand Rapids Griffins and the Rockford IceHogs are playing each other in the AHL playoffs this year. So I guess we kind of have that postseason to look forward to a little bit. But yeah, let's dive right into this one. Let's start with the Detroit Red Wings. David, what a year it's been for the Wings. From missing completely in the offseason, or missing completely last year, they added JT Compher, Alex DeBrincat, fun pickup Patrick Kane, and took a risk, which really paid off, really helped accelerate their scoring. And just missed the playoffs this year because of loser points to the Washington Capitals.
I think it was a combination of loser points and just the team collapsing when Larkin got hurt in March, and other garbage teams getting slightly hot at different times. But yeah, what a crazy year. Like you said, it was kind of a roller coaster where it started off like super hot. We're like, oh my gosh, this team's coming out firing all cylinders. Like Larkin and DeBrincat were leading the league in points and goals for a period of time. And then we signed Kane and we're like, oh man, like everything's going up Millhouse, you know? And then we had that one period when Larkin got hurt against Ottawa where we had a collapse because he was out. Perron got suspended. Kane wasn't really starting yet. And then it happened again. Larkin gets hurt again, and the team collapses. We get the garbage patch. And, yeah, loser points, and that's something I just want to dive deep into because the tiebreaker determinations in the NHL are probably the most confusing and craziest, I would say, in all of sports. Maybe, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, it is loser points. The regulation wins. I mean, I think that should play a big factor, though.
Agreed.
I think regulation wins is important. But yeah, I know. I hate that, you know, the way the season ended for the Wings, that just how epic the final 3 games were for them. And,
I hate Philly.
You know, it felt like playoff games, and then Torts just...
What a great Torts moment.
I'm sorry. It's 2024. You don't have an iPad on the bench?
Tortor, out of all people, he might not, actually. He seems like the kind of person to be like, why do I want that screen looking at me? And again, my one pushback on the loser point issue is everybody has to deal with the loser points. And I know it's frustrating, but if anything, this highlighted the fact that when Larkin goes out, the team falls apart. Like we've talked about this at several points in this year. Is this team without Larkin can't seem to get up and go? That the month of March is the reason you guys missed the playoffs.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't want to. You know, winning 3 games in March. Was it 3 or 2?
2.
Was it 2? I thought it was 3.
I think we were 2-8-1.
But either way, it was awful.
We're discussing a terrible versus.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's like you just come away with 1 win there, and you're in the playoffs. Like 1 extra win, and you're in.
It's crazy to think about. Yeah, if we had won one of the 2 games against Washington, or we had beaten Pittsburgh in overtime, like any small little difference changes everything.
a pretty solid footing in that wild card spot. And
February 29th, we had a 9-point lead.
And March just eroded. And to your point, David, some teams got hot, but that's hockey, right? Like the parity of the league, you can't afford to just fall asleep for a month. And I think that in this offseason, there has to be a way to address that contingency.
So, that's going to bring me to my question for you guys is, obviously we're going to be talking about the offseason here in a little bit. But, in general, collectively, year in review for the Red Wings' success.
Great question. I'm so curious.
You were essentially a playoff team that final week. Just every game felt like a playoff game. The playoffs started early for the Red Wings, and they got eliminated because of an unfortunate circumstance. But how do you see this season? Is it a success? Is it a failure? What are we thinking?
Jordan, you start with this one.
So, I wouldn't say the season's a failure, but I would say that it was a success overall, but there were failings during the season, if that makes sense, right?
Very diplomatic.
Watching the team melt down when Dylan Larkin was not there, that's a failing of the team. Watching how this team still has a problem defending properly, that's a failing for this season. But on the same end of, same level, you did also have successes this year, right? Like the Wings were scoring at a better rate. It seemed like overall goaltending took a step forward when, Alex Lyon stepped in, kind of established himself as a starter in Detroit. And, did he start to stumble at the end of the season? Yeah, because he got rode so hard because Huso went out early.
Every single year for you guys.
Yeah, that's been the story.
We've ruined goalies in
right?
Detroit. We've ruined goalies.
But so I thought in those aspects the season was a success. Obviously we kind of touched on it, but Patrick Kane, stepping in and really helping elevate the offense, that was a great success for them. Now Willie re-signed, I don't know. David doesn't know. Nobody knows at this point.
Patrick Kane knows.
I'm pretty sure the Chicago boys know.
During his post game presser. That's the other thing. Like, he didn't give any definitive answers. They were all non-answers. So you can't.
That's what he does.
He's literally mini Steve Yzerman. They're just the same person. They don't want to tip their cards to anything.
But so that's kind of my thought on it. Like, there were some successes, but there also were some failures. But I think overall, this team did take another step forward, just given where they're at in the rebuild process.
I think one major key for you guys to take away is Lucas Raymond's a superstar.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And that was a
Moritz Seider, man. 200 blocked shots and 200 hits.
Yep.
Seeing Moritz Seider not have a sophomore slump and seeing Lucas Raymond recover from his are massive wins for you guys.
Yeah. Lucas Raymond showed that you can put the game in his hands. He is the player that you want the puck on his stick. He's not Showtime because Patrick Kane's Showtime.
He might be your version of a Patrick Kane.
I agree.
He might be. I'm trying to say, I think he learned immensely under Patrick Kane's leadership just for that one season and how to play that style of game. The one goal he had to tie it and send it to overtime, I think it was
the Montreal game.
Yeah.
Where it was like he was like to the left of the goal, just waiting, and then he just bent the shot. Like, I'm like, how did you even get that past the goalie with that angle you were at? And yeah, I think Jordan and I are on the same page. I think it was success. It was a success in that we did better than we did in the previous year. We had 11 more wins than last year.
11 more points, yeah.
11 more points. But there were, falters. You can't have one player go down and that just disintegrate your entire team's play. Like Connor McDavid was out for a couple games. Edmonton still played fine.
Yep.
It is what it is. Bedard was out, and you guys still won games without Bedard. Granted, like you had.
Listen, we're a bad team,
we
we didn't tank from where we were.
No.
I mean,
water finds the level. Yeah.
Winnipeg lost. Kyle. No, was it Kyle Connor? Who was the one that got Brock?
Yeah.
Got knocked out for like months, and they still were.
Vegas gets to put half their team on LTIR, and they still make the play.
Yeah, game 1, they're all back.
But that's exactly it. Like every single team loses players and even key players to injury. The fact that the Red Wings fold every time Larkin's out, A, shows he's your MVP. He's the leader of your team. But
Yep.
B, that we something has to be done to address that.
And is it coaching? Like there was times this year where Lalonde irked us the wrong way. And Jordan and I talked about it in a previous show, like the lack of urgency. And people say, oh, people take the "we're not supposed to be here" quote out of context. And I'm like,
it was a bad quote.
It doesn't matter what context it is. You don't say that. You say, yeah, we're struggling right now, but we got to figure it out so we can keep improving upon where we were. Not, oh, well, we're not supposed to be here, whatever the context of it might be. The fact that we were coming towards the end of the season and it was a Ghost or Sherratt that said, we're not feeling any panic. But like,
yeah, Ben Sherratt, the panic level's not high in the room with 9 games to go.
And I'm just like, yes, you don't want to say, oh, yeah, we're panicking right now. But saying like, yeah, we realize that things are
emergency.
Sense of urgency. The room understands that it's time to kick it up a gear. You don't have to have panic, but like you have to look like you care and are aware.
And like to me, that's a coaching issue. Like
I agree.
You gotta fix that. Like, yes, you're a young head coach in terms of this is your first real head coaching gig in the NHL. But you need to learn from these mistakes. And his exit interview, I think, was fine. Like, he said the right things. He said, like, I wanted to push some younger players and call up more younger players. And Steve pushed back against that. And I get that.
Hey, sure.
But hopefully next year we see some improvements and we see guys that are down in the Griffins right now that have been lighting it up, like Casper, Mazur, and Johansson get some time to shine.
I mean, I kind of want to use that as a springboard. Obviously, we heard Steve Eisman and Derek Lalonde talk about the season as a whole during their end of season pressers. I am kind of worried though about Derek Lalonde's comments, and I do think there's some truth to them when he says Detroit's going to have an even harder time getting to this point next year. But in that same vein, the Wings, and I understand I'm not the general manager, but next year, if I look at the roster right, Albert Johansson is going to have to be in the NHL because he's not going to be waiver, or he's going to have to clear waivers if he ever goes down. Same with Jonathan Berggren. If those two were ever going to make the NHL, they have to do it next year, and they also have to stick around. Because you can't tell me there's not a team that's going to not, or you can't tell me there's not a club that would not take either of those guys off the waiver wire.
Don't be us.
Hi.
We're going to do it.
And like those two have both earned a spot at the NHL level,
100%.
especially Jonathan Berggren. That guy's been over a point per game at the AHL level for 2 years now. That guy should have been in the NHL realistically this year.
You can't tell me that he's not bringing something that Zach Aston Reese is bringing to the table. But no, like, I'm so sorry. No disrespect to him. But, like, are you kidding me?
I enjoyed seeing those, like, every 3 days. Like, Zach Aston Reese has been called up to Detroit, and it's like 2 days later, Zach Aston Reese has been reassigned to Grand Rapids.
I mean, that's the only argument you could make is that they don't want to screw around with Berggren. If he's up, he's up. He's down, but like, don't go back and forth. And what are you gonna do? Hurt Zach Aston Reese's career at this point? Like, he's fine. He can go up and down.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess that what kind of tying that into is like like we talked about Larkin, we talked about the guys in the A. Like, what do we want to see the Wings do this offseason?
Fix your defense.
How do you fix the if Larkin goes down? How do you fix the locker room not melting down?
I mean,
that's a tough question.
I honestly, I don't know how you really fix necessarily that. I think some of that's a player issue, like a player and management issue. But in terms of the on-ice product, honestly, I know people won't like to hear it because, Jeff Petry's got Detroit Tigers ties with his dad. But I think Jeff Petry has to be bought out. I understand maybe it's a down year for him like Ben Sherratt had his first year with the Wings. But at this point, He was consistently negative all year. He only really started to have good stats once Simon Edmondson played with him. I don't think that's a coincidence, and I think Simon Edmondson is carrying him to those good stats, if I'm being honest.
And that's not conducive for a rookie play. Like,
Yeah, so I'd imagine Jeff Petrie, because he's only got 1 year left, he should be a buyout that they're looking at. Trading Justin Holloway, I think, is another one that they should be doing. Just you have to have cap space for guys, right? Like Justin Hall's making $3.4 million to sit on the bench most nights. You can't have that. And I know the Wings haven't made the playoffs, and it's hard to part with picks when you're not in the playoffs yet. But if you have to offer a team a second and a third round draft pick and they'll take Justin Hall off your hands, you have to do it right now. Because, like I said, you can't have $3.4 million sitting on your bench or up in the press box every single night.
You would trade a second round pick to get rid of
Hole? Oh,
I here's the thing. I think he's not. I'll defend the man. I think we talked about this in the chat the other day. I think if you trade Justin Hall, throw Fabry in there, because I think your forward line is way filled up. So if you do Justin Hall and Fabry and then throw in a second or a third, you need to fix your defense. That is your number one priority, besides finding a goalie coach that can like actually keep goalies alive. But
physically and mentally.
Yeah, no, 100%, David. The mental part is a massive part of it. But you need to revamp your defense, and if that costs you a second round pick and an expendable solid middle six forward, you do it.
I got the idea for for the Larkin issue if he goes down.
Oh,
guys, there's a guy with ties to Stevie Y.
Yeah,
he's about to be a UFA.
Oh, I would love to see it.
Does Stamkos still have gas in the tank, though?
He's got more than everyone else on your team. Like,
Detroit would skyrocket and Tampa Bay would plummet.
You guys need guys that know how to win. Like, Kane was a perfect addition for you guys. Stamkos would be a match made in heaven for you guys.
Watch him sign Tyler Johnson
He's
instead.
the other real top six center.
Yes, and you need one. Like,
yep.
You guys have a solid. I mean, it's hard to say you have depth when all it took was Larkin to go down and the team imploded. But you guys do have a well-rounded team forward-wise.
You got a bunch of third-line centers. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we got
Comfort can't be the guy to step up to 1C.
And he showed he can't be.
So we've got Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat as that top line. Stamkos, Kane, and somebody else.
Get Kane out of your mind. He's gone.
It's gonna be Stamkos, maybe Rasmussen, and Cobb.
Kane. I know Kane. Yeah, you're right.
Get out of here. It's enough out of that. Listen, if we're living in a fantasy world where you get Stamkos, fine, I'll play with that. But yeah, that would be your top six. Then you have Veleno as your third line center. Maybe throw Berggren and Comfer on there. Because you're not re-signing Perron, I can't imagine, right?
No, not unless he's taking like $1 million.
Exactly.
You are not getting paid this season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's me.
Honestly, though, does Stamkos really leave Tampa? I feel like he's a Lightning for life.
No, I think he leaves.
Patrick Kane can leave the Hawks,
but their situations are entirely different. Patrick Kane left because the team was, imploding and trading.
If you're Steven Stamkos and you're the captain of the Lightning, and you still haven't received any kind of offer from their end, that's kind of
But they did this the last time he had a deal too. I feel like, and we missed Stamkos watch.
Yeah, but I think this time it's like a legit
Stamkos watch.
You missed the first Stamkos watch. You're right on target for the second.
Yeah, no, I think it's either that or trade market for the Wings this offseason. Like, it's a loaded forward class for free agency, but defense, I don't think there's much.
Yeah, defense, if you want a meaningful defensive piece this offseason, you have to trade for one.
I mean, we thought we should have traded for Hannafin, but you know what? Vegas did it.
Hey.
Get to Nordy.
More.
So, I mean, I'm trying to really think because Hannafin was the big defensive trade at the deadline that everybody was looking at. I do kind of wonder though if maybe Steve. I mean, obviously we saw him finally trade a first round draft pick last year to grab Alex DeBrincat on the forward line
which was
or the forward position.
fantastic.
Which, yeah, like I hate how people have been looking at him and going, "Well, he didn't put up 35, 40 goals, so he wasn't worth the ad."
He was
Alex DeBrincat hit
massive. Are you
so many posts this
kidding?
season, and he was always in the right position,
That's
ready to receive a play.
That's what he does. Like that's what snipers do.
I
They
mean,
they
that's
go through
exactly it.
they go through snake pit. Like I think DeBrincat had there was a spree with the Hawks where he was just hitting nothing but posts, and it's just you hold your stick a little too tight. It's gonna happen. But I don't know. I think this is gonna be an exciting offseason for you guys. I feel like we've been saying that the last 3 years.
Yeah, you sound like
Oh,
Cubs fans.
God.
Next year.
No, but you guys are in the position Stevie Y needs to make a splash. He has to make a splash.
Here's
The biggest problem is our cap window is starting to get tighter. We're starting to have less and less cap to play with.
because you see
Oh yeah,
signing the wrong defenseman is part
yeah.
of it.
He signed the wrong defenseman, and he doesn't have the blessing of no state income tax now in Florida. So
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I will say my big question is how long next year, how short a leash does Lalonde have? When do you expect him to
they
be let
wanted to
go?
fire him yesterday.
I wanted to fire. I thought he should have been fired, but like,
They just
what do
need
you
to get
think?
him away from a microphone. That's his big thing.
Yeah,
God.
seriously. He's got some Colleton moments, man.
I don't know, man. Like, it sucks because, like, Yzerman, love him, but he's stubborn. And this was his
He's a
first
GM.
this was his first coach for Detroit. Like, is he gonna hold on to this, or is he gonna be like, we have to change it up? I mean, like, the Devils came back big last year and made it to the playoffs and did all right. This year they started out pretty hot, and then they started to collapse a bit, and they got rid of him. They're like,
Nightmare
nope,
season. Yeah.
gone. And then the Islanders too. Like, they had a bit of a struggle, and boom, gone. Red Wings struggled for an entire month, and it was like, we're not panicked. We're good.
I think for me, it's Derek Lalonde. He should be looked at as soon as the team stops taking steps forward. Like next year, if they don't make the playoffs, I think that's when you can really have the conversation of like, okay, how much more rope does this guy get?
I think if they're
And
not in a playoff spot by January, they let him go.
Yep.
and I know it sounds unfair because Derek Lalonde does not ink the contracts and stuff like that for this club, but once you have Moritz Seider locked up to his long-term contract, once you have Lucas Raymond locked up to his long-term contract, the Wings are going to know, or at least Steve Eisman, I should say, is going to know exactly how much money he's got to work with, what assets he's got to work with. And at that point, him and Derek Lalonde will be able to sit down and say, we have X amount of cap space. What do you think it takes for us to get over that hump? And Derek Lalonde and Steve Yzerman seem like they talk to each other fairly frequently. I mean, yeah, people are like, well, the whole kid comment seemed kind of weird, but generally speaking, it seems like Derek Lalonde and Steve Yzerman talk back and forth. This isn't just here are the assets, do something with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, Eisman's got to do something. Like you said, it's not all on the lawn. Like, it all comes back to Eisman in the end, too, because he can't just tie himself to one guy if it's just going to
No.
be mediocre
Yep.
after mediocre season.
Your roster's too good now for that to be the status quo.
And that's the thing is like, I mean, like, let's say, and we're running a little long, so we're going to cut it here in a second, but
Yeah, it's
let's
Chicago
say
time, baby. Let's go.
But like, let's say they trade Justin Holloway, they buy out Jeff Petrie, and I don't know. Say we talked about Robbie Fabry getting traded, right? Let's say Robbie Fabry leaves.
Let's go.
That's what $6.5 million just in assets right there you can spend. Jeff Petrie will go. I think he's a little over $500,000 by the time you buy him out, and you're paying, like you're basically doubling his contract through the buyout system. You can't tell me you can't get a good, solid defenseman for $6 million. I think you could get a top four guy for $6 million.
Plus all the unrestricted free agents that are leaving too.
Yeah, I mean, David Perron is leaving. We talked about him just a second ago. That's going to free up some
Fisher.
cap dollars for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Fisher will be gone.
Weirdly enough, I'd like to see Fisher back though. If he's going to sign again, like a $1.5 million deal, I would
Bottom
actually like to
six
have him
role, yeah,
back.
that's not
He's
bad.
he's a good bottom line guy. Brings a lot of energy.
You
Veleno's
needed
not
that.
going to get a crazy, contract type. Rasmussen's already signed his extension. Like,
Sprong will probably be gone.
yeah, Sprong probably will be gone. But like I'm saying though, like if they can move some of this quote unquote dead cap from their roster via trading assets way to get it gone, the Wings are in a position to make a splash in free agency and not just like a $2 or $3 million acquisition, like a true top four defenseman who's going to run you $5 or $6 million.
Well, and the cap's going up too. I think it goes up to
Yeah, that'll help.
87.7. So like there's going to be extra money to play with. I mean, I think in the end your biggest needs are defensive, improvement, and then I don't know. We have to. It sucks that we say that every year because it's like, all right, we got our guy.
I genuinely
can't-
don't. Go ahead, David.
We can't keep bringing in backup goalies and expecting them to be, long-term starters. That's the problem we're doing right now.
But here's the
Well,
thing:
Kosa-
you're bringing
Kosa's
in good goalies that have starter quality, and then you run them into the. I don't know if it's your goalie coaching.
How many games did Lyon play for the Panthers last year? 14?
I honestly don't know the answer to that. I have to double check it. But he's looked good and has developed at every step in his career. Maybe he wasn't the one. He's not meant to be a 1A, but he should have been able to step up and be a legitimate backup this year to Husso.
Let me look this up.
'Cause,
Alex Lyon last year for Florida played 15 games. Started 14 of them.
Okay.
So his workload drastically increased this year.
He went from 14 starts to 43 starts.
And see, that's not conducive usage.
That's a problem. I mean, that was his most starts he's ever had last year at Florida. Hurricanes, he had 2. Flyers, he had 5. 2, 1, 7. You can't just go from being barely double digits to almost 50 games.
100%. That's a good point.
That's not recipes. That's not recipe for success. But we obviously still have the Hawks to talk about, so we're going to touch on the Hawks in a second. But first, I got to talk about our sponsor for tonight, and that's DraftKings Sportsbook. Obviously, the chase for the Stanley Cup is on, and if you're looking to light the lamp, nothing beats the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, which they're an official sports betting partner of the NFL, the NHL. Obviously, you got the playoff beards going and all that. Obviously, some of us like to have a nice alcoholic beverage. Nick, you know that firsthand, working at a brewery. People have to have a nice beverage in hand.
Catching strays over here.
No, I do.
But part of the fun also while you're sitting around drinking beers, watching a game is putting a little bit of money on the line. And DraftKings Sportsbook is a way that you can do that throughout the playoff race. So, for example, as much as I hate the Bruins, I'm rooting for them to beat the Leafs. And I don't ever root for the Rangers, but damn it if I don't want them to just wipe Washington into the floor.
Join me. Yes.
But you can bet and download DraftKings and bet on DraftKings. You can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. New customers, you can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Calling 888-789-77777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Bill Hill Casino and Resorts in Kansas. You have to be 21 plus, age varying by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. cdkng.com/ice for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Copyright in NHL 2024. All rights reserved. So, fellas, let's talk about the Hawks now, because the Hawks had a season this year, and admittedly, they weren't in the playoff race like the Detroit Red Wings were. But they still had a season, and there was some growth that got taken from the Hawks.
They were in the draft
Yeah,
pick race.
yeah, it
no.
was a season for sure.
It is a season that existed, and I'll tell you what, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. There was a lot more hope and excitement this season than there was last season.
Yeah, I mean, it's we have a future. We know we have a future. We have a young, promising core kind of in our compiled draft picks that we
It's
have
developing.
upcoming, and then in past draft picks. So I mean, there's been so many although we didn't really have much wins in the record books, there's a lot of little victories that we like to say on this podcast where there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, and I mean, obviously with Connor Bedard, then you have the surprise of Alex Vlasic looking like a true number one D-man. You got Frank Nazar coming up, scoring his first goal right away. And then just Rockford right now in the playoffs. It's an exciting time. I know we're still a while out, but we're also in the lottery now. So,
I mean, that's exactly it. Like, this season, we went into it knowing this team was not built to win. We weren't tanking anymore. We bottomed out at the end of last season, and now it's building from scratch, basically. To your point, we're getting to see what some of our our draft picks that are finally taking that next step are doing. Vlasic was we were all focused on Bedard, but man, we got to take 2 seconds. Alex Vlasic might have been the most exciting part of this season in my mind.
absolutely.
Because Korchinski looked great. He's developing, but Vlasic has been cooking a little bit in college, in the AHL last year, and he came up and he's ready to go. And that's a second round pick that hit and is looking like, to your point, a top pairing defenseman. That's how you get out of a rebuild, is picks outside of the first round.
Yes.
That's thrilling to me. Even Ethan Del Mastro in his first year in the AHL this year, he was a 4th round pick a couple years ago. He's looking stable. I think he's going to try and push for a roster spot for, actually the Hawks next season. The fact that Rockford is in the playoffs this year, driven by so many of our actual prospects that we've developed, is such a refreshing change from even the dynasty years where our prospect pool was so depleted for so long. It's been, and again, we get to see guys like Nick Foligno, who came in, was the de facto captain this year. He was the heart and soul of the room. And he said, I want to sign for another 2 years. I want to be here. I want to help drive this thing. It's a little different than maybe Tyler Johnson's comments. For those of you that don't know, Tyler Johnson's exit interview, his final words were basically, it's not what I want. It wasn't very fun. I want to go back to playing meaningful hockey. And listen, he got traded from one of the best teams in the league to the Hawks right as they bottomed out, and then was injured for half of it. Listen, I wouldn't have had fun either, but dude, that was a little rough to go with.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think so. I know, obviously, things from the get-go, it kind of got off to a wrong foot. Taylor Hall going down at 4 games. Yeah, and so I know a lot of people want, with Anthony Ciu, Taylor Hall, Corey Perry having to leave over his incidents.
That's right.
It kind of, all this, these veterans that we were surrounding Bedard
Murphy
with.
was injured for a massive part of the year.
But the way I look at it as a win for, Bedard did a lot with nothing. He did so much with nothing around him.
100%.
Reichel, we were always waiting for that next step. And it just showed that Bedard can drive a team. He has that in him. And now it kind of gets me even more excited next year for him, because we do have free agency coming up. We do have a ton of draft picks that maybe we trade for a piece to go put alongside with him. But it just gets me excited to see that he's going to be able to elevate his play even more when you put actual NHL level talent around him.
Take his own actual development out of it. Simply what he can do with NHL caliber, top 6 caliber players, will be remarkable. And that goes into what Davidson talked about in his exit conference, that it's time to take a step forward for the rebuild. He straight up said, we can't be a bottom team next year. This year, we weren't trying to be good, but we also brought in players to like move us up a little bit, and that didn't work. Like
They're all
this
hurt.
rebuild, it's time to take that next step. And Foligno said the same thing. He's like, if we increase 10 points next year, that will not be sufficient. Like we need to be driving this now. The people who are still on this team are hungry and they're excited and they want more. And the people that are, finagling the team, the GM, the coach, they're on the same page with wanting to move forward. Like this is a turning point for the rebuild. We're going to have another top 4 pick. Like I'm hyped, man. Like it's hard not to be excited about what we've seen with our prospects developing. Every one of our prospects, I feel like, took a step forward this year with, our college prospects, the juniors. It's a good time to be a fan. You're sort of getting it on the ground floor of a new era of the Hawks.
Yeah. And like the fans, they were there. They came out in droves this year. They were,
like fourth in the league, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's great to see because they know, we're bottom out right now. We are
at
the bottom. We are at the lowest point we will be. But there's hope. There's hope coming. Like we seen it hit the last home game of the regular season. Frank Nazar made his debut, scored on his second shift,
first shot,
second shift.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Just so like we'll see him maybe not right away next year, but we'll see him next year. Like he'll be on the team eventually.
100%.
I sorry to jump in. I read an interesting post on because I get like suggestions on Reddit, and I got the suggestions for the Blackhawks, like a post from the Blackhawks subreddit. And it was just saying like we have reached the point of the end of like the tear down part of our rebuild.
Yes.
And now we are actually building it up. And I read through, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you guys are, because you've gotten rid of a lot of the dead weight, so to speak, like the cap stuff.
Yeah.
And you've kind of cleaned house, and you've got Bedard, you've got some vets on some small contracts to kind of help guide them, and you're going to start building up those pieces through the draft and bringing up guys like Nazar and Vlasic's looking good. So, yeah, I think you guys are kind of where we were at when we kind of hit rock bottom, and it was like, well, we can't get any worse than this. It's now time to start kind of rebuilding. So you guys are starting to work your way up that hill now, I think.
I sure hope so.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's slashing out the RE and rebuild. It's just the build up now. Like there's nothing to tear down. It's where we got to the studs, now we just got to put the framework back together.
And again, that's one of the exciting Oh, go ahead, Nick.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm building on that point, Tim. That's the exciting thing. Is like everything we do is going to be the betterment of the team for the future. We're not signing no dead weight contracts just to have salary cap. Like it's going to be useful cap. We're going to put, NHL talent around this team now. Like, are we going to be a playoff team next year? God, no.
No.
But
don't get it twisted.
We're going to see significant improvement where this locker room, like you said, Tim, they're hungry. Like. I'm glad that they're not just content with getting their asses beat every game, like it felt like for the better half of the rest of the season. But they want to win and they want to see improvement now.
I was fortunate today. It was the last Wolves home game of the season, and they played the Rockford Ice Hogs. And man, Rockford had speed, they had skill, they had grit. They've got some size, but even their smaller guys are shifty and they're hustling, they're back checking, they're forechecking. Like Reichel was dancing circles around people today. Louis Crevier looks so smooth. Like I know he's not realistically what we would think is actually going to jump up and be a consistent top 6 defenseman, but if he develops as the 7th defenseman after being a 7th round pick at 6'8" with some pretty smooth skating, that'd be a dream come true. Like what they're building in Rockford right now is the next step. Cameso stood on his head today. I'm just so excited to see, because we think about rebuilds and we see what's going on in the Hawks and we think about the prospects in their leagues. The AHL is yes, it's a development league, but it is professional, like consistent hockey with a grinding schedule. It is that next step for so many players out of college and juniors. it's such a big deal to have a consistent and stable team down there. And what Rockford's been able to provide with coaching, development, and seeing these guys working as units, there are a couple of those guys that are going to be on the team next year. And it's because of the work they've put in Rockford.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like, oh yeah, go ahead, David.
Can we get a Rockford versus Grand Rapids playoff matchup?
I would be.
We have it.
I wouldn't wait.
Is that
Yeah,
who they're
yeah,
ending up with?
That's round
Yeah.
one.
Oh, that's round one. Nice.
Guys,
Yeah.
we should watch that actually and stream it. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I think that, or we can. I know we can't stream it because
you're talking about
legal,
you're talking about your AHL stuff. Like, I'm loving what Dan Watson's doing with the Griffins. Like,
I've seen you guys in I've seen the Grand
like,
Rapids in
they
person.
brought up Shea Buim, and he looked, from what I saw from clips and what people are saying, looked really good. They put him on the power play line. Him and Hirose were kind of playing catch back and forth with the puck on the power play. He feels like he just kind of fit right in. We're not going to be able to draft his brother, right? Because, their brother, Zeev.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's going to be a top 10 man. But, God, maybe we trade up and try to get him.
Maybe. Be cool.
But back to your point, Tim, like you brought up, the success that the Hawks are having with Rockford.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing. Like, the AHL kind of serves as this filter for all of the other teams in North America to the NHL, right? Like, let's say you're the top guy or, one of the top few guys on your college team. You go to the AHL to try to prove that you can get through that level to make it to the show. Very few guys just leave college and go straight to the NHL and have success.
Not realistic.
The AHL is kind of like a proving ground, so to speak, and it's awesome that Rockford has guys who are proving it.
That's 100%. The AHL, people forget it. Like, it is still one of the best leagues in the world, like professional leagues in the world. Like, even guys coming over from Europe, this is their chance to play against legitimate men and competitors on North American ice.
Yeah.
Like, this ain't just a development league. This is hard hitting. Like, you can't get away with anything out there. You gotta have your head on a swivel, and if you can get through that, you'll survive in the show for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of talking about, we're kind of hinting at, transitioning for what we want to do for this off season.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of down on the head. Obviously, we want to see our prospect development. That's probably one of our more exciting times. Next season will be the prospect development camp and everything like that. But Tim, what do you think? What are some things we are going to get done this offseason? What do you want to see done for the Blackhawks?
I would like to see, honestly, a legitimate, oh man, it's tough because I want to see a legitimate like top 6 or middle 6 forward come in. Somebody stable, somebody that actually has scoring and skill potential. We don't have to break the bank in free agency, but I want somebody that can provide offensive support every night that we can count on. I think that's the number one thing that we need. I like, again, we're going to have Tenorti and Megna gone. Zaitsev is on the way out, I think.
Tyler Johnson. Yeah,
Tyler Johnson. We've got plenty of people on both defense and offense that are coming up from our development, but I want to have somebody, another veteran, but not some guy that's on the back half. I'd like somebody who just can be offensively responsible, can help this team get to that next level, because it's offense is where we get snake bit a lot of the time.
Yeah, I got a name. Tyler Bertuzzi.
I would love Bertuzzi. I don't know if Davidson will think we're ready for a Bertuzzi, but I think that's right on that tier of you're not going for a giant free agency splash. Either Bertuzzi or frankly Domi. I would love to have Max Domi back.
I would see Domi over Bert because I think Bert wants to be on a winning team, and I think he's been on fire lately with Toronto.
Yes,
and
he's
so
good.
like ever since what was it? They were talking when we played Toronto. He changed like part of his stick tape, and that was like he scored like goals after that. Like he just put like another strip of tape on his stick, and that did it. Okay.
Nick, what's your thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the forward depth is what I want to target more. Like I said, we've seen Bedard do so much with nothing around him this offseason. I want to see. I think a top 4. I think our top 4 pick. It like we have. Tim and I were exchanging texts in the group chat the other day. We have a bunch of guys on defense. Like there's
Agreed.
We have at least 4 that we know are locks. Like we have Murphy. I mean, there might be a trade with him this offseason. Who knows? But we got Murphy, Seth Jones, Korchinski, Vlasic. Then you have guys like Wyatt Kaiser, Louis Crevier, Ethan Del Mastro. Like we have the defensive depth. I think it's time to build up the forwards because, like, I know we addressed it the past few drafts with Nazer, Oliver Moore, Bedard.
They're not
Obviously,
ready yet.
yeah, like we need guys that could come in and just hopefully stay healthy and make our team whole.
I'm gonna throw out a name for you guys that you guys should be familiar with. There's a certain player for the Carolina Hurricanes who's going to become a free agent this
Teuvo?
year. His name, Teuvo Teravainen.
I think Teuvo Teravainen would be exactly. I think
Yeah.
he'd be good for Reichel, frankly, as an example of what hard work and like consistent effort can turn you into. I would love Teuvo. He's
Yeah,
He's a great example of work hard, get rewarded.
and he's so
Yeah.
skilled. Like he's not a work hard grind guy. He's a work hard, put in the effort to hustle and shift, and so your skill can be on full display. I would love Teuvo. I would love Max Domi. Either of them I think would be a good choice to add into the Hawks offense. We also have to figure out, man, we got to figure out the backup situation.
yeah.
I defended Soderblom for so long.
No,
this
he's
was
gone.
rough.
I think Stauber is going to come in and play a significant game. Mrazek's back, right? We got Mrazek for another year
Mrazek
now.
signed for 2 more years, which 2
years.
You and I went back and forth on that a couple times. I think at this point, I like it. The consistency and the responsibility. Like, go ahead. I like.
Yeah,
that.
I'm at the point of liking it now. But yeah, I mean, as for everything else, like forward wise, I think we get a not blue chip, but a really good NHL forward. Hopefully this offseason. I think a 3-year deal is where you're targeting it. You could probably inflate it a little more.
I think getting Teuvo on a 3-year deal at the right could absolutely work.
And it's going to be an inflated price because we're still at the point where we have to overpay guys to want to come here. But 3 years is like that
Bedard
happy
effect is
happy
real
middle.
though.
No, it is. It is. But like that happy middle number, that 3 years, because like you're not going to be worrying about overpaying all these guys. Is like what Reichel's contract's up. You're going to pay him nothing.
Well, that's the 2 RFAs that we got to watch now are Reichel and Vlasic for extensions.
Yeah, Vlasic's going to get paid.
The Vlasic extension, the kicker is going to be: is it a long-term deal that we lock him up for, or is it a bridge? That'll be my question.
I think we're going to look at like a 7-year deal for. I'm going to say around 5.5.
I would 7 at 5.5. I think is incredibly great.
He's an Illinois boy. He wants to be like he's excited to be here. I think that's the number we're looking at for Vlasic.
I would be so excited. And then whatever our pick is, if we end up drafting 4th overall, wherever we end up being, I think it's got to be even though there's one defenseman that I think would justify picking him just because it's Demidov, or I think is the name of the guy.
Demidov's the forward. He's a Russian forward.
I don't know about that.
No,
doesn't matter. There's one defenseman that I think would be a true number.
Is it
one.
Leshinov? Are you thinking of Leshinov?
Leshinov is
from Michigan State. He's playing at Michigan State.
That's it.
Yeah,
thank you.
Demidov's the forward. I mean, obviously we want Celebrini, but I think Lundstrom we'll get closer to draft time. When it gets closer to draft time,
we'll talk about this. This is a long time away.
All right, last piece of news for the Hawks. Oh, sorry. Last piece of news for the Hawks. I know.
Go ahead.
Where we're going to be watching them next season.
They
are moving from NBC Sports Chicago to Stadium. Stadium is an app that it's a sports app where you can track all your teams. But as us Chicago fans know, we love to hate this guy. It is owned by Jerry Reinsdorf, and I can't wait for the first major colossal mess up. I didn't say that bad word.
I'm proud of you.
We're all going to end up hating this. I hate that it's owned by Jerry Reinsdorf because there's going to be something that goes wrong.
So, wait, question. You said it's an app. So is it not going to be on local channels or TV channels?
It hasn't been on local
It's
channels. I mean, it's on
it's
NBC
gonna be like
Sports, but like...
It's going to be like Marquee for the Cubs. It's going to be like a streaming service where you have to pay more to get that to get on your cable package. It's going to suck.
Man.
Yeah, no, they don't make it easy to watch sports in Chicago,
No.
frankly.
One of the biggest cities
Yeah,
in the
you-
country, and you just why?
You've heard me go on this rant 1,000 times. I won't go on the full rant this time. But the only two teams, or the only team that I can think of that is of the main professional leagues that you can just stumble upon flipping through channels are the Bears. Like,
Yeah.
you can catch the Sky, you can catch the Wolves, but the main leagues, that's it. I can't watch the Bulls. I can't watch the Sox or the Cubs or the Hawks. Like, it's asinine with this city that loves sports so much.
Are their
And
games
Yeah,
at least going to be
it's
on ESPN Plus still, or are they not going to be
yeah,
there?
it sounds like they won't have they'll be able to do the national games and whatnot, right?
well, yeah, because they'll be on the national games. It's so essentially it's like how the Cubs operate is you can still get them on like MLB TV. So like if you're out of market and you can watch the Cubs on MLB TV. Yeah, we gotta love the blackouts too. That's another thing that needs to be done away with. But anyways, yeah. So you're gonna have to pay for a streaming service, or your cable company's gonna raise your price on you to have this uh, channel on your TV. It's gonna raise your cable bill. It's just annoying. It's Jerry Reinsdorf doing Jerry Reinsdorf things. He's only in it for money. He doesn't care about his teams. I mean, the Hawks aren't his team, but the Hawks tie themselves with the Bulls and the White Sox wherever they go. And that is the worst man in the world to be tied to because he is going to ruin something. It's going to, I already know it. It's something is going to go terribly wrong. And it's going to be like back to dollar bill where it stays trying to watch a Hawks game.
As a lifelong Sox fan, anything tied to Jerry Reinsdorf frustrates me so deeply.
Yeah. So, I'm glad I didn't say any bad words. It's just going to be miserable. I mean, we don't know the full details yet. It sounds like next year the Hawks might still the Hawks might still be on or NBC Sports.
I'm not clear on that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's it for the Hawks. I'm excited. You know, it's another season in the books, but the future is coming.
Yeah, this was a season of little victories and optimism.
Yes.
I mean, I have another piece of news for the show. I know both of our teams didn't, make the playoffs, and we had little victories, but there was a big victory this year in this show.
Oh, this
and that was,
guy.
The back-to-back championship win.
Jordan, can you
yours
shut
truly.
off his square?
I just want to say you all doubted me at the draft when I used my first two picks to pick goalies, but it was looking into the future. And as Doctor Strange says, there's one. This is the one thing we have to do to win it, and that's how we won.
You're a nightmare.
I just want to thank you for getting a Jordan Stahl jersey. Thank you.
I want to thank a lot of people out there. First and foremost, myself. I'm just a genius.
Humble apparently. As always. There he is.
Your haters, to which there are many.
And my assistant coach, who's currently sleeping next to me, my cat. She was there the whole step of the way. As
I thought your kid was just asleep at your feet for a second. I was like, "What are you doing, man? Put him to bed."
He's our AHL affiliate coach. He's finding those players to the future for next year for when we go the three-peat.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
All right, let's talk about playoffs that actually matter.
How do we in a way? Yeah, let's talk about things that are real. For David,
it's real to me.
Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations!
All of our teams were injured, so by default, you won. God bless you.
Yeah.
It also helped that he had Nikita Kucherov, who put up 100 assists.
Yeah,
and Connor McDavid, who put up 100 assists.
We're living in an era where we had two players get 100 assists in one season.
And they were both on my team.
We're gonna, you know what? We gotta go to the CBA. We're gonna have a strike next season.
Yeah, exactly. We'll iron this out in the union.
You guys are gonna call the sports card distributor like, you can't print cards for next year. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the playoffs for a second, guys.
Yeah.
So obviously the Hawks and the Wings aren't in it. We can touch on the AHL playoffs really quick. Obviously, the Grand Rapids Griffins and the Rockford Ice Hogs are playing. For the show, that's exciting, right? Because it's
thrilling.
It's our future additive pieces versus some of your guys' future core pieces. That's a cool thing for us to have as a show.
Oh, I'm hyped about it.
Oh, for sure. The Griffins just won their finale tonight. I don't know. Did you guys win your finale tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rockford won their finale.
Oh, you went to the Wolves game. My bad.
Yeah, I am a Wolves fan. Listen, don't get it twisted. It's very challenging to be a Wolves fan and then also be a Blackhawks fan because you're looking at Rockford going, there he goes. He's doing such a good job. And then I'm like, boo this guy. But yeah, Rockford won. So it's an exciting day for both teams.
But yeah, that'll be fun for us to look at, for the next couple weeks. Yeah, because the playoffs for the AHL start next week, right?
Yep.
So that'd be fun for us to have. We'll have at least a little bit of postseason content this year. But looking at the actual NHL playoffs, I mean, I'm not going to walk through the whole bracket, but guys, just out of the first round, what's your favorite matchup and who's your money on to win it all?
I'll start because I had the game on before we started and I had it on in the background. Edmonton, Colorado looks like it's going to be one crazy series, and I'm all here for it. The game just ended
Edmonton
6-7.
Aren't they playing LA?
Yeah, Edmonton's playing LA
So
tomorrow.
you're assuming they're already going to beat LA and go play Colorado.
No, sorry, not LA. I meant Winnipeg and Colorado.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
All good. Oh, we're all scrambling right now trying to
I'm like,
Dude, he's
what?
playing 40 chess. He already knows. Yeah. Winnipeg just won 7-6, and those Winnipeg fans, oh my God, they deserve this.
Oh, Winnipeg, absolutely, yeah.
That's my series right now that so far has been fun to watch. It's only been one game.
I think
Nick, what are you guys looking forward to?
my series to watch is obviously going to be Florida and Tampa. I think those are two of the most high-powered, high-octane offenses there are in this league. I don't know. I love the Florida Panthers. They're a team I could just never quit. I think I've been on them ever since. I've been on them for a while. Ever since Barkov got drafted there, I've just wanted to see them take that step, and we've seen it last year. I think that series is going to be gruesome, the Battle of Florida. I'm excited. I think the Panthers end up taking it. So we'll see.
Yeah. Again, everybody knows I'm going to be watching the Rangers. Going to love that Rangers Capitals series. That said, I think the series that I'm most excited about in this first round is LA versus the Oilers. Can the high-powered Oilers offense withstand? The Kings are just a grueling team, and Byfield has had his coming out party. Doughty hasn't missed a beat. It's going to be a hard series for the Oilers, but it's going to be a blast.
Jordan?
I mean, for me, it's Boston and Toronto.
I knew it would
yeah.
be. I knew
I had to save it out. I had to save that one.
Yeah, I knew that'd be yours. I love it.
It's so weird, though, because Boston had the departures of Bergeron, Krejci, Chara within the past couple of years. Tuukka Rask is gone, and somehow this team is still in the playoff mix.
I hate them.
It's craziness. How is this happening?
We had them missing, or at least some of us had them missing the playoffs at the start of the season. You don't lose your top two centers and franchise icons like they've been, and they didn't replace them. They just moved Coyle and Zacha up.
Their goaltending is ridiculous too. Come on.
But you also can't rely on goaltending because goalies are weird, but they've got two number one goaltenders. And this team, again, Pasternak, Marchand, it's a goal by committee. Everyone's they're almost closer to the way Carolina plays now.
Yeah.
I'm impressed by what they have done.
Yep.
And they also destroyed Toronto that first game.
Yeah.
God, they did.
As for a team that I have winning it all, I know you asked that, Jordan. I didn't want to act like I ignored that.
Oh, I forgot. So go ahead.
I think they do it this year. I think the New York Rangers win the Stanley Cup.
That's who I picked too.
Okay.
Mine was more random. I was like, this one.
I know you all think I would have picked the Rangers, but I actually went with Carolina.
I almost picked Carolina too.
I think whoever wins that series of the Rangers or Carolina, I think they're gonna win it. But Carolina, man, I've been high on them the last couple of years. Kucher and
they got Jake
Kochetkov
Gensel.
and
They finally
Anderson.
have the piece.
Gensel is the missing piece. He
looks
had
great.
so many points after he got traded to them.
Yeah, I have the Rangers beating Edmonton in the Stanley Cup final.
I have Carolina beating Vancouver.
I forget who I have. Can you look at mine, or do I have to go look for it?
Yeah, I'm in Nick's bracket right now looking at mine, so that's really funny.
I don't think I can look
forget
at. I don't think
who
I
I
can look
have.
at yours because it still has editing privileges for now.
Jordan, do you know who you've got?
I
your
have
final?
Rangers winning it all. I just don't remember.
I could see this year being the year for Edmonton or Vegas.
Vegas
think
again?
Edmonton.
Vegas again?
Vegas
I mean, Mark
again?
Stone just came off LTIR because the cap doesn't exist anymore.
Have you guys seen? It's from an old wrestling thing where the guy's in the wheelchair and like he's got his leg up, but he pulls the blanket off and it's a fake leg. That's Mark Stone. That's when the playoffs started.
I won't get onto my.
So you're like in Edmonton or Vegas out of the West there, then, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I think Edmonton though. Like, I think McDavid finally just does it this year.
I just don't know if he's got.
I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong.
It would be so funny though having them be the team that breaks the Stanley Cup curse in Canada and not the Leafs or the Canadians.
Oh, don't get it twisted. I love that. I do kind of want it to be Vancouver, the other team of Canada.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the Senators, obviously.
No, listen, don't get it twisted. It ain't going to be the Senators. It's not going to be Montreal as much as I love Montreal.
How do I see my bracket?
I don't, buddy.
I'm not the same.
All I know is we're in store for a great playoff. I think, if it's anybody but the Capitals, I'm okay.
Yeah, no Capitals, no Leafs.
Yeah, no Leafs too. Yeah, for always screw the Leafs.
Just a general rule.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Like, it's gonna be crazy.
There's going to be one upset though. There always is every year.
I think it could be the Kings.
Oh,
I think the Kings could shock.
I have the Rangers beating the Canucks.
Okay, so you and I have the Canucks in the finals.
I don't know why. I'm just like, I like the Canucks.
I like that team. I really do. They survived Thatcher Demko going down. Like, they regressed a bit, but they stayed alive. Like,
I think it's mainly because I'm still really upset that we didn't draft Quinn Hughes.
That's fair. And they also have Hronek.
Though, man.
I know, hindsight is 2020. I thought Zadina was going to be great, and he's a bust.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? He's living his best life. I do have one final question. Nick, the people want to know.
They do.
It makes your eyes pop. What jersey are you wearing?
Oh, yeah, I'm glad you asked. I couldn't just let this. Go. Let me just show you. It's a future Blackhawk. It's a future Blackhawk.
I'm so excited for this.
It's Patrick Kane, isn't it?
Oh man, I know it. It's that London Knights jersey, isn't it?
Patrick Kane's coming back home.
Is that the London Knights jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's coming back home and he signs a one-day contract to retire a Hawk. After he wins a cup with the Red Wings. We know.
Okay. Let's keep living in fantasy land where Stamkos comes over and McDavid. You've got 10 centers that can.
We'll just repeat the 2002
I'll
team.
trade
We'll just ask
Justin
around the league.
Holl.
Who wants to win a cup, boys?
I mean, you're not wrong.
Justin Holl, Robbie Fabry, a second and third, Connor McDavid. Who says no?
I won't stand in your way. That's good.
That's it for the show, unless anybody has anything else to touch on.
Nope.
We're good.
Nope.
For everybody who checked out our show, we really appreciate you guys checking us out, giving a listen or a watch. Feel free to give us whatever the social media currency is of choice on the platform you found us on. It does help us grow quite a bit. But yeah, that's going to be it for our show tonight, everybody. For your host, Jordan Linscott, for my co-hosts, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato, this has been another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. We will catch you guys back all here next time on another one. In the meantime, stay safe, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll catch you guys back here on the next episode. Take it easy and have a good evening.